Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's BDF44 coming at you with another video, as I always say at the beginning of most videos. So, David Griffin said some things that could be interpreted as insulting to Laker fans. And I'll paraphrase as I always do, but basically what he was saying is if you want to come to a team, um, that's really about their fan base, that really wants to come through and care about winning, come to the Pelicans. If you're interested in the fluff, more or less, go to the Lakers or go elsewhere. And I paraphrase extremely, forgive me, but that was the gist of what he was basically saying. Like we're the guys that you come to if you're serious about building something. If you want to go to LA and be a superstar and just deal with all of that, um, you know, go over there. As a Laker fan, I'm like, all right, I know that's the perception of our team, but like, if you knew the Laker fans that I've known all my life, if you were aware of who I am, you would understand that we shatter that stereotype. We're very obsessive. We're very detail oriented. We pay very close attention to our team, and we are blue collar. We want hard workers. We don't care too much about superstars as it pertains to what they can do for the image of the team. It's more so about if they're superstars and they should be able to deliver, and we demand that of them. We're not impressed with a LeBron James. We're not overly impressed with an Anthony Davis unless they win. So I think that's the first misconception about our franchise as a whole, that we are sometimes more interested in what guys are about in terms of their star power. That's, in my opinion, is more so what the front office of the Lakers are interested in some ways. And I think they've kind of jumped off that to a degree because, well, I don't know if you can say that because they just traded away their whole future for a superstar, but in theory, that superstar can be a part of their future, which can balance it out if he resigns. But I think the front office is more enamored with the glory of being viewed as great as opposed to actually doing the hard work that it takes to become great. And that's my own personal opinion. And I've always hated that, and I think that catered to why we've sucked for so long in this recent past. Is because we've constantly swung for the fences as opposed to doing what we need to do to assure that our team just had a bunch of really, really good pieces on it that we could use in whatever way to make ourselves better. When we started doing that, when we started really, really tanking, so to speak, and putting ourselves in position to have assets, that's when we were able to finally acquire a guy like Anthony Davis. That's when a guy like LeBron James finally decided to come through and say, you know what? We are serious about winning, and I'm bringing that energy here. Like that's what it's about. So, in my opinion, you can say that about our front office, but you certainly can't say that about our fan base. And there are a lot of fans out here who are fly by night fans, people who are bandwagoners, people who are casuals, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to attract them too. You want people who are watching basketball game while they're in a barbershop to pay attention, just like you want people like myself to follow. But what you don't want to do is put all of those fans together as it pertains to this Laker fandom, because we are not all like that. And I think that's a misconception that I hope I can have some part in switching up as I start to gain whatever the fame or attention that comes with this YouTube thing. I want you guys to know that not every Laker fan is out here just head in the clouds thinking about every championship that they've ever won as it pertains to how they should view themselves now. No, we are a team that's on the rise, coming back into our own. Everything that we did in the past is just good enough for bragging rights, but it has nothing to do with what we need to do right now to fix our issue, which is years and years in this era of not making the playoffs. So, as a Laker fan, it's on us. It's on us to change that misconception. A guy like David Griffin can run off at the mouth, say what he says, because of the perception that we've allowed him to see about us. So, if you're a real fan, let your voice be heard and speak on what you know. That's the best thing we can do. Change that misconception. As far as other topics, just want to hop into other topics. One thing that I'm really, really curious about, and I've mentioned this several times, so those who've seen this already or heard this already from me, please forgive me, but the Clippers do not have enough size to face the landscape of the league right now. If this were any other era, well, not any other era, but particularly in the point guard era that we just exited from, where it was nothing but the Steph Currys, the Chris Pauls, the Russell Westbrooks. Those are Damian Lillard, it's only about them, then the Clippers can run through that and use their two-way wings to just wreak havoc. But the issue that they're going to run into, and I've said this a million times, and I'm surprised more pundits haven't said it themselves, is that the league has changed quickly. And now you need a center. You need a stretch 4-5 combination playing at close to an all-star level, in my opinion, in order to really do damage. Now, the Rockets can prove me wrong. The Clippers can prove me wrong. But as I'm sitting here watching these rosters as they're currently constructed, each and every team in the league, all of the ones that you're really serious about, with the exception of the Clippers, have a dominant or high upside big man. And some of the teams that are not so good, some of the middle of the pack teams, they have high upside big men. You got to understand that. And you point out teams in the league that don't have big men. The teams that come to mind first for me, and I didn't realize this until I started playing 2K, honestly, is the Brooklyn Nets. They need to address their power forward position really, really bad. Now, I understand that they're fine in the center position with DeAndre Jordan and my guy with the fro, can't think of his name, but I'm sure you guys know exactly who I'm talking about. He's down there blocking shots. He's a phenomenal shot blocker. I just can't think of his name, but I know exactly who he is. And I know what he's known for. He catches bodies when he's blocking shots. So big up to him. But as far as an offensive player going to stretch the floor, neither one of those guys are going to shoot outside of 15 feet. Neither one of them. Now, I heard that he's working on his three-point shot, the guy that I can't think of his name. I'm sorry. But I don't think that you're going to look to him to be shooting the ball. They have a guy by the name of Radisson Crooks. I don't know if I'm saying his name. Radisson Crooks or Crooks. Starts with a K, starts with an R, starts with a K. Radisson Crooks. He's a power forward to some degree, but he's a shooter. He's a young player. I don't know that you want him to be the type of player that I'm talking about, that you need. They got Wilson Chandler, long in the tooth, hasn't been healthy in a very long time. If he's able to help them, it's certainly not going to be at the starting power forward position. Obviously, KD's not going to be around for a while, but even in the sense of having KD, I think going forward, especially coming off this injury, you don't want him to play the four like that. With the Golden State Warriors and who he was before the injury, of course, playing the four, he's a dominant four. He's one of the best fours we got. But coming off of the Achilles, working back from injury, 2020, a year in, a year further along in his career, no, I don't want him playing the four. I want him playing the three consistently. He could play the four, obviously. He can play anything. But, when you're talking about what you want from your team in terms of how you're going to match up with other guys, it's so many of them. I can't even stress it enough, you guys. I don't think most people realize exactly how many great young bigs have just entered the league over the last 3 years. Like they're all new. You got your Wendell Carters. You got your my mind is going blank. You got your DeAndre Aytons. Obviously Nikola Jokic. Kristaps is healthy again. We're looking at so many young guys. Marvin Bagley. Obviously Anthony Davis. It's so many. So when you're talking about how you're going to guard these guys as they develop, you need a big man. You need one. You need one. Clint Capella. There's so many guys out there who are young, who are going to be players that you have to deal with. Excuse me, I'm trying to cook here. And a lot of teams have answers for that, but a few of them who you are looking to be championship contenders, they don't. The Clippers are one of them. Look, I like the Clippers roster. I've said it a million times, but there are two glaring weaknesses on that roster, and I don't know how they're going to fix those problems without fixing those weaknesses. One, obviously the point guard position for me. Y'all know I'm not as high on their point guard, Patrick Beverley, as everybody else seems to be right now. I've just been watching him too long. I know who Patrick Beverley is. I'm not confused by the fact that he's on a really, really good team right now. He's just a solid, defensive-minded guy who's competent from three, and he's going to make his presence felt with his mouth. He's going to talk you to death. He's going to do more talking than he's going to do playing. Okay? Now, that's my opinion. It's not like I would shun him for being on my team if he was a Laker, which he was once. We drafted him. I thought we should have kept him from the beginning because I saw upside on him even then. So I'm not saying I'm down on the guy per se, but if you want him to be your starting point guard on a championship caliber team, he is not going to get it done. He is not going to get it done. Period. Defensively, he's the man. He's the man. Okay? I'm not saying he ain't a defensive monster. They have the best defensive backcourt, that I've seen in quite a while. They have that. but they don't have the center position straightened out. They don't have the power forward position necessarily straightened out, and that's going to be a harm. That's going to be a harm to them. Montrezl Harrell is a big time physical guy. He's physical. He's going to rebound the ball to the best of his ability. He's going to dunk on your head. He's going to get a lot of highlights. But when he's going up against 7-footers and guys with super long arms, he's going to get outplayed. He's going to get outplayed. It's not a question about that. He's just undersized. He's not enough man. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. When he's going up against the 7-footers, when he's going up against the Porzingises of the world, he's going to get beat. So, like Zubats, I've said this a million times. Forgive me if I sound like a broken record. I like Zubats. Wish he was still a Laker. Would be happy with him as my starting center next to AD. But if he's the last line of defense, and you're going up against some of these bigs that I've mentioned, some of the ones that I haven't, look, man, everybody thinks the Clippers are just going to run through the Western Conference and have an easy time. And while they may have a great time locking people up as it pertains to guards, big men are going to eat. Your Joel Embiids are going to eat. Let me tell you right now. I'm going to say this right now. I do not like the Clippers versus the 76ers in the finals. If the Clippers were able to beat us in Denver, who are the two teams I think they're going to have to really deal with, if they're able to get to the finals, and Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Al Horford are sitting there waiting for him, Clippers are going to go down at 5. Maybe 6. Maybe Kawhi gets you 6. But I don't see them winning without injuries helping them out. I really don't. Not at all. And that's the thing, man. We could talk about how great the Clippers are and their roster and all that, but they're not as deep as people think. They're deep, but they're not as deep as people think. You know, when you start talking about the Mo Harklesses of the world, I'm not a Mo Harkless guy. I'm not. I know he's made a name for himself defensively. He's a 3-and-D guy, but in my mind, he's about as average as they come. Now, granted, he is a young player. I think this is only year 5, year 6 for him, so he could still be establishing himself. But the fact that he's playing behind 2 superstars at his same position, and they want him to play some 4, I think, just like he did a little bit with the Portland Trailblazers, I don't love it. He's a natural 3-2 combination, in my opinion, with defensive emphasis. He's not scoring a lot of points for you. He ain't doing a whole lot of playmaking for you. Like, I just don't like the one-dimensional aspect of some of the players that they have on that Clipper team. You know, some of those guys are really one-dimensional. I like Lou Williams. I love Lou Williams' ability to score and draw fouls, but he ain't guarding nobody. We know that. He ain't rebounding the ball. He's not really looking to set up your offense. He can't, he's not an assist guy like that. He don't have that type of vision. You know, his gift is scoring. Do you really need that much scoring? As opposed to what you would need from him, his value, if you were able to swap him out with something that would help your team, say a talented power forward or a talented center. I think you need that more than you need Lou Williams scoring at this point. So for me, if I'm the Clippers GM, I'm gonna sit and watch, but I'm gonna have every intention of willing and dealing at the trade deadline to try to get myself a facilitator and try to get myself somebody that can match up with those young big men. Because right now they just don't have it. They don't have it, man. They have nobody that's going to stretch the floor from the power forward center position, as far as I can tell. Now, I don't know what the I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Forgive me, but he's the nephew of the great Dikembe Mutombo. So I'm interested in seeing how quickly he can develop. If he turns into that power forward for them, if he's the guy, all is well. You know what I mean? No, who's to say what they have on the back of their bench? You know what I mean? He could be that guy. But how long will it take him to become that guy if he is that guy? You know, what are his intangibles? I just don't know. So I need to study him to know that. But, if you're relying upon a rookie to be that for you, I don't know. And then I look at, I didn't even mention Zion. That's another power forward, obviously, you have to deal with. Julius Randle. There's so many guys in this league at that forward center position that have the ability to hit shots from outside of 20 feet. Even if they're not shooters, they can create a threat for a defense to try to pay attention to. You can't just zone in on them. Clippers don't really have that at that position. The Nets don't really have that at that position. And so I think those two teams have the position to underachieve. Both of those teams have I see a path to them underachieving because of it. Now, the Nets is not really a thing because without KD, you're not really doing anything. And I've said in the past, I think they should tank. I really do. I can understand why they wouldn't, don't get me wrong, but I just think in terms of strategy, maybe not tanking per se, but not going all in, trying to play Kyrie freaking 40 minutes a game, that kind of thing. And that's something else for the last minute of this video. I want to say I don't know if tanking really works anymore, but I do think that certain teams should consider not being so good in hopes of trying to get a top pick in the draft. There are a couple teams that I see that way, and the Nets are definitely one of them. The Knicks are possibly another. Even though I've gone on the record and said I think the Knicks can make the playoffs, that doesn't mean they should, doesn't mean they'll try. And that's an entirely different conversation, so please don't mistake the two. But, it's a couple teams, man. And a couple teams that I think should not tank, like Sacramento. I think they should go after it. I think they have enough young pieces. Now it's just about making those pieces work. Now it's just about trying to develop those guys. So in certain teams, a team like Orlando, you made the playoffs last year, you want to keep going. The lottery pick doesn't matter as much. You just want to make sure that each and every one of your young pieces are developing and getting the most out of one another and playing for one another. Those are the things I'm looking for from teams like that. Chicago, on the other hand, different story. You don't have all your young pieces just yet. You don't know what Kobe White's going to be. Still waiting on Lauri Markkanen to come into his own. Wendell Carter's coming off injury year, even though I believe in him. So they have some pieces. Maybe they tank another, for another season and try to get another lottery pick to go along with that trio of young fellas that they're really excited about. Do something with Chris Dunn. Move him somewhere so you can have Kobe White have that point guard position all to himself, along with Satoransky, who I think has a chance to really step along and take another step in his career as well. He showed some good things last year, and he was stuck on the back of the Washington bench for so long. He's somebody that, like Quinn Cook, I think is going to have a chance to really step out and shine in a new role. So it's just a lot of stuff to look at in the NBA. Very, very excited about the league. Obviously, this is one of the most anticipated seasons of all time. And in my lifetime, this might be the most anticipated season ever. It just might be. Just simply because the Clippers are really, really good. And the Lakers are really, really good as well. And that's just never happened before. We've never had that in the NBA. So that's a huge deal. And, thanks for watching. 17 minutes of me recapping pretty much stuff I've already talked about. I got to do some study in the league and kind of branch out and know what's going on with other teams. But I can tell you that I've been focusing on the three teams that I pay attention to on 2K based on my players being drafted to those teams, which are the Knicks, the Nets, and of course my very own Lakers. And I also created a guy who's going to be on the Clippers, but I haven't started that yet, so I haven't really studied those teams. But I know what the Knicks are about. They're just lacking in talent, honestly. They have young pieces that, if work out, can really, really do some good for them. But I can tell you where they really hurt is at that shooting guard position. Maybe RJ moves over to the 2 and solidifies that. But I think they need a shooter there. And don't get me wrong, the guy that they have at the shooting guard position is a young player who's really, really good. Of course, knowing me, I don't have his name in my head right now, but he's not going to be able to stretch the floor. He's more of a defensive guy, not a great fit for a team that doesn't have enough shooters around it. So you got your power forward position straightened out with the three-head monster that they got in Randall and a few other guys, Gibson, and of course another name that I can't think of. But another guy who was with the Washington Wizards last year, also played for the Bulls. We know who he is. You guys know who he is. I can't think of his name. But they have their power forward position. They got Robinson, who's a shot blocking extraordinaire. If he develops going forward, he can be a really, really, really big piece for them. DeAndre Jordan type. They got their point guard position pretty much locked up with Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, and a few other guys I think on the back of the bench that they're looking at. But at the end of the day, they just need an infusion of talent to go along with the young players that they're excited about. Just a little more, maybe a floor general or somebody like that to kind of make it all come together. So that's what I'm looking at. And like I said, Brooklyn just they need KD to come back healthy. They need Kyrie to end the season healthy, and that's really all they need to focus on. The rest of that roster can be revamped, and from there they can bring in KD with a whole nother squad that they don't have right now, with a couple guys returning. I think some of the usual suspects. And I think I forgot about 5 people's names in this thing. Totally unprepared, but I thank you guys for watching anyway. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.